Hello and welcome to the Right Book Author Talk. I'm delighted that you've joined us today. Today's guest is an author that I have known for many years and someone that I'm very proud to have worked with. Sarah Higgins has over 27 years of experience as an HR director and a professionally qualified leadership coach. She works with leaders individually and with teams to create effective and engaged ways of working with teams and cultures. She's the author of Power of Love Leadership, which is all about the one thing which gets in our way of being our best and the 7 most powerful strategies you can use to overcome it. She is the founding member and vice chair of the LAMP charity business club, shining the light on mental health to build understanding and awareness of how to improve mental health at work through open-hearted and meaningful business collaboration. I'm also absolutely delighted to say that Sarah has just been awarded the Businesswoman of the Year award by the Niche Business Awards. So huge congratulations to you and very, very warm welcome, Sarah. Lovely to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. It's fabulous to be here, Sue.
Oh, it's great to see you. Sarah, I was just talking to somebody the other day about, books can take quite a while to bake, can they not?
Yes, they can. And did you think about mine?
Yeah, I did think about you. I thought about you and what a wonderful shining example of, no matter how long it takes to bake, it's okay, because hopefully the right book comes out at the end, because you and I first met over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, maybe, I don't know, but it was a long time ago. And we had a wonderful day together, didn't we? We worked on your book strategy together when I was still up living in Warwickshire. And it was just, we had a super time. It was just, I loved your concept. I loved what you were doing. And then tell me what happened next, Sarah.
I don't know. It's a bit of a blur, to be honest. Well, you know what? The thing is, the will was there. The determination was there. I knew what I wanted to do. But I had a little bit of a sticky problem with just kind of writing, I think was the probably the best way of putting it. I think it was just the writing it. And, my book is about 7 strategies based upon love, but it's also about the opposite of that, which is fear. And fear is, what is our greatest motivator, but it's also the most significant thing that gets in our way of being at our best. And even just I probably could write a book about the fear that I went through writing the book about fear. And that's kind of ironic, really. But it was just a lot of insecurity, probably imposter syndrome, doubt, worry, just lack of confidence, I think. So all that determination, I knew what I wanted to do, what I wanted to say, and how I wanted people to feel about what I knew would work for them, and share that message with the world. But that fear of just writing and not feeling as if the words were justifying what I was feeling and my stories and my messages was quite overwhelming. And I know you ask people this question at the end, or you might ask it, but it kind of feels right to say it now, which is that what got me through that, and kind of like, advice that I would give anyone going through that journey is, you've got to keep believing in that message. And, knowing that, and I'm sure you probably said this to me so many times, when the right time, when the book will come together, it will come together at the right time for you. You just got to keep going until that happens. And I needed to find, I laugh now because I know you've said about the 5-year thing, and I laugh to people and I say, I think about 4 years of that was that technical writing term called faffing. which is, you know, I was kind of telling myself I was doing all this stuff, and I was researching. I was, you know, thinking about how to write. I was thinking about the structure. I was, you know, doing lots of things that kind of were helpful, I guess, but it wasn't actually the writing. And it was really, I suppose, in the final year before it got published, before I kind of sent you my final draft, that I had a really dedicated plan for my time. So that's the other thing I would say. So stay true to your belief, create a plan for your time. And I had to create time that actually felt good. And that sounds weird, but, you know, just saying I'm going to plan out, you know, 2 hours a week. I went through lots of iterations of learning from trial and error with that, because sometimes that time wasn't great. So I found, for example, my time was I went and just wrote in a bookshop with the biggest latte I could buy. And I just enjoyed the experience of having that me time and the writing time. So that was what I would recommend. And the third thing is to get some support and help. And, you know, your support and help was invaluable, Sue, in that process. And, you know, just to help me through kind of rationalizing that, to give me feedback on my writing. I know you have book buddies, but they didn't exist then, did they? I didn't have that, but I've heard lots of people talking about your book buddy groups and they sound amazing. So yes, so it's keep true to your belief, have a plan that works for you. And even if trial and error, you keep trying different ones, you'll find it. And B, get some help. And then see 5 years, it goes, and here we are, and I have a book.
Exactly. And I always remember you saying to me, actually, it's funny because these talks, I love it when I just meet authors and who I've loved working with, like yourself, and we end up just having good old chat. And it doesn't matter what order things go in. Like you say, you've just answered the question, but often I have it. Who cares? Wonderful what you said there. But I also remember how lovely, you know, that you said to me at one point. I remember you said, do you know what, Sue? If I'd sat down and written this book 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been the right book. And there's a process that you went through that really had to, it was quite painful at times, because I think you had a lot of, so it felt very fearful quite a lot of the time, but also I think you had an awful lot, it was like the self-doubt piles on self-doubt, doesn't it? You know, you're going, why can't I do this? Why can't I just do this? And I've seen this happen so many times with authors. And actually, sometimes your process, what you were creating with this book, was so much more than a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like you had this framework, you had this model, you had the core story, you had all the things that fed into this, but there was something about the process of developing it that needed to be done. And it just took a little time. And to sort of distill it in a way, and to create something that was a really, really brilliant book, and still is, and will go on being so, and has huge life and huge meaning for people, and for you and your business. It's tremendous. I'm so proud of you, because it was probably out of all the, you know, I mean, I've seen a lot of quite difficult labours, but that was a tough one, and you made it, and that's like, yes, you know, really worthwhile, really, really worthwhile. So let's just dig in a little bit to what's in here, and to what you do with your clients, and with the lovely people, the teams and the leaders that you work with. Tell us a little bit more about that. So fear is I loved what you just said there. Fear is our greatest motivation, but it's also the thing that stops us. And love is the thing that we can use to push us through. Tell me a bit more about that.
So love's kind of like the antidote. That's how I sort of often describe it. And I think one of them, I mean, there's so much, you know, we could go on. I could probably go on all day about all the things to say about it. But I think one of the most significant things that happened to me, that kind of led to the philosophy of Power of Love leadership was, and as you said, I mean, I'd already created the model. It's it's a leadership model based on how we can understand more about ourselves and what we're thinking and feeling, and what's getting in the way fundamentally around fear, and then how we can use the love strategies to overcome that. And I was already using that with clients. So, you know, as a coach, predominantly in coaching, I was using it as a model to help to show people it visually, actually, ironically, because I've just done an audio book, but that's another story. But as a visual model, which is throughout the book, all of the visuals of it, to show people that and say, so tell me about what that means for you. And kind of a lot of people said to me what it does is, especially when we look at the words that we use around fear. So things like, I often say about day-to-day fears. So that's things like, you know, worry, doubt, procrastination, overthinking, not speaking up, being frustrated, resentful, angry, you know, just, you know, not going out of our comfort zone, all of these things that get in our way every day. And then I would talk about the love strategies and allow people to open up about how they could use those and actually then adapt and change their behaviors to find better outcomes. And I've been using that for a little while, and that was working well, and people were loving that. And then as I write about in the book, and this was the example that I know we talked about putting this right up almost near the front of the book when we really get into what it all means, is the personal experience that I went through, having had 3 consecutive miscarriages. And, you know, I won't go into it now because it's all there in the book and the audio to come. But just that experience of finding myself in a place where I wasn't in a great place, and I looked at my model on the wall, and I remember, and I'm looking over here because I remember looking at it, and I remember thinking, I need to use this for myself. And if I can't use this for myself to help me get from this place that I am now to a place where I can feel more happy and at peace, then I'm not ever going to be able to use this again with my clients. It was like a real kind of call for authenticity in myself, and a challenge in a way to say, you know, you're helping leaders to use this and you stand by this, so therefore you need to stand by it with yourself and commit to yourself in a way. And so that's what I did. And so you know, that has been a journey for the last 10 years of using those principles in my life. And it worked then, but I use them every day. I use the strategies every day for all sorts of examples. And the examples, those examples are in the book, obviously from a period of time at which I wrote it. But I also wrote lots of examples about how I'd used the model with my daughter, who I started using it with her when she was 5, and she's now almost 16. And it's been the most beautiful journey of using those with her as well. So that in the book, it's full of examples of how I've used this strategies in my life, but also with my daughter and also with clients, obviously anonymously. The work I do in my coaching is confidential, but yeah, it's just been a most amazing journey. And that's a very powerful thing for me, is that, you know, when I work with people, and ever since the book has been published and I kind of bring it alive even more now, is that it's about also how I've interpreted those strategies. And, you know, I kind of live and breathe them. So it's not just a philosophy or a set of theories or strategies off the shelf. It is literally, you know, you work with me, and this is kind of like how I live my life. And it's the biggest thing I'm passionate about, apart from my family. So long answer there, Sue. Apologies.
Oh, it's wonderful. And just run us through, because you gave us some great examples of how fear represents, how fear shows up for most of us. Run through a few of those love strategies for us, just to kind of outline those for us as well.
So I'll illustrate, just for example. So one of the things I've been doing since publishing the book is I've actually been bringing it alive through doing leadership training. So I mentioned I used to do the coaching with the model, and I still do that, but also how to help leaders to understand how to use these principles on a day-to-day basis. And so actually my 12-month program has kind of followed kind of the route of my book in a way. So it's almost like the book becomes almost like a workbook to kind of help you think through and remind you of these strategies. And so I kind of, so obviously I start with fear, but then I go through, modules through each of the strategies. So with regards to humility, which is the first one, humility is all about, there's a real value in understanding that we are human. And every time I talk about this, you kind of think, well, that's just common sense. Of course, we know we are human, but we don't tend to live and appreciate our humanness on a day-to-day basis. And all of those fear-based behaviors get in the way, and actually remembering that we're human, remembering other people are human, allowing ourselves to make mistakes, admitting weaknesses, taking responsibility for outcomes, asking for help, giving feedback, receiving feedback, creating a culture of psychological safety, which encourages, for example, equality, diversity and inclusion. And all of these things, we kind of pull apart and kind of get to the bottom of how do we actually demonstrate those things. And then we've got compassion.
Yeah.
All of these strategies are also what we can use with ourselves. So, elements of self-compassion is also very important, especially because, we're often, doing lots of things to produce results or help other people, but we often forget, don't we, when we're busy, how we can actually be there for ourselves. And also then compassion for others, which is, pretty much putting myself in other people's shoes. So there's an element of empathy there, obviously, but then thinking about, so what can I do about that as well? And not making assumptions about why someone is doing something. And then there's, so we've got humility, compassion, and then we've got enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is contagious. It's about our energy, and it's also about what comes from inside of us, that energy that when we're talking about our passions, our beliefs, and how that comes across with others. And it's also about understanding our strengths, and kind of thinking about what brings us joy and how we can be more positive, even through the faces of challenge. I love that Winston Churchill quote that, enthusiasm is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm, which I think is great. And then we have hope, which is number 4. So hope is all about kind of like where we're going and the future and, our goals. Where it's all about thinking about, where am I going and what does this look like for me? But it's also about what does it look like for others, and how am I articulating that in terms of my team, and being clear about where we're going and doing that on a regular basis, so we keep aligning people to the values and the strategy and what we're trying to achieve. And then we have forgiveness. Forgiveness has always been such an interesting strategy because it's kind of like the one that I think people are surprised by the most. I've recently just, done the topic last month, or the module on forgiveness, again, for some of the leaders that I work with. And I always say to them, I think you probably have to be quite open-minded to go through this training. And I said, I'm wondering whether anyone else in the world is doing a leadership module on forgiveness right now. Anyone out there who happens to be doing that, I'd love to hear from you, because it just feels very different and unique, yet very powerful, because that's all about how we forgive ourselves, of course, and overcome our own difficulties and challenges, but also about how we forgive others. And the importance in the workplace is because it's about how we move on. It's about how we let go of that stuff that we hold on to, the stuff that causes us conflict and causes us, pain and disappointment and resentment. So how do we let go of that so we can work together to move on from things? And then there's gratitude, which kind of, I guess, speaks for itself. We've talked about gratitude, I think, as a across the world, really, since the pandemic, quite a lot more, I think. But I think it's one of those things that we easily forget. We forget because we get busy. We forget to feel grateful for what we have right now whilst working on where we want to be. And we also forget to make sure that other people know that they are appreciated for what they do for us. And obviously in the workplace, that's more important than ever. And then the final strategy is learning. So learning is all about how we learn from mistakes, how we see failure and problems and challenges as part of where we need to get to, and embracing those. And it's about, having a growth mindset. And it's also about how we can use coaching in the workplace as well as telling. So, they're all, yeah. I mean, I say they're like kind of like babies to me in a way. I mean, it's like they're just, I just live and breathe them. I just, yeah, love them.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah. You love them. I love them too. I love that you give us this toolbox to dip into and pick, what's really helpful. And in the book, you really guide us through, how we can, really dig into these strategies. And I love the stories that you tell in this book as well, that tell us, that illustrate where you're using it, where it's used with people that you've worked with, obviously, as you say, completely anonymously. I love that I love the way you illustrate the fact that it can be done with a very young person by the work that you've done with your daughter on it, and how she in so many ways kind of helped you develop the model, didn't she, because of what she was bringing back from school or whatever. And that was I love that you worked on this together. And I can't believe that she's 16, and gosh, I mean, I bet she's still using it. Would that be right? I bet she's still using this framework.
Well, I had a bit of a realization earlier in the year, because I did a presentation for the university that alumni of, and De Montfort University, and I brought her along with me. It was a presentation to the people who were going to be graduating, and she came along to the evening presentation, and I kind of put her on the spot a little bit and said to her about how she would like to tell everyone about how she uses them. You can imagine she was thrilled at that. She managed to find, feel the fear and do it anyway, as she does, as we all do, or try to do. And she came out with this kind of explanation, which I'd not heard her talk about in that way before. And it like I say, it was a bit of a revelation for me. She said, "I don't work through it in the way you do, Mum." She said, she said, "It's almost become so instinctive that I'm almost not even conscious of it anymore."
Wow.
But when I look back at how I've been able to overcome a challenge or a personal frustration or a disappointment or something that's upsetting me, she said, "I know I've done it, but it's almost like I'm working it through without even realizing." And she said, and I said, "Well, I clunk my way through these every day. I mean, it's more automatic. I guess I've built up the neurons in my brain enough through the practice over the years that
yes,
my brain I automatically think of the strategies and I know how to work through them. But when I say clunky, it's like it's a process that I go through." And she said it's become automatic. And when we talked about it, it's like, learning a language at a young age. And, when young people learn a language at a young age, it almost becomes so instinctive. They really don't think about it. And so in a way, I've thought, this is a language for young people to be learning, from when they join school. And I'm really passionate about that. And I've even drafted the start of a children's story, Sue. I've not even spoke to you about that, but I'm really passionate about young people learning about emotional intelligence as much as IQ. And I wrote about that in the last chapter of my book. And I'm still really passionate about that as well.
Absolutely. So what's next? The audiobook. Yay.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. It's just going through that process for 4 days of reading my whole book. It's just, yes, okay, so I've developed it so much since then, and yes, I could have had 50 million more examples, and yes, yeah, all that. But I'm doing that now. I'm bringing that alive now with more people. So yes, I've got the audio coming out because so many people have asked me for that over the years. But I'm doing an accreditation program next year. So leaders in business, coaches, consultants, HR, people teams, individuals who want to work on their careers. So I'm going to help people to be able to use these strategies in how it will work best for them. And also build a community, Sue. So that's, another thing I'm really passionate about is, like you have done, with the Right Book Company and the book buddies, is building a community where people can support each other and, lots of people believe in using love in leadership, and they know that we need to be doing a lot more of that. And I want everybody to become kind of much more connected, and so we can support each other and help spread that message, really.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And the book continued to, I mean, how do you find this book has kind of helped serve your mission, if you like, you know, apart from obviously it's, you know, it's, as we said earlier, there's been that element of, in a sense, kind of embedding it and distilling it and kind of really getting to the heart of it. But, you know, what else has this book done, would you say, for you? And you know, how has it helped you get this work out there into the world?
It's like it makes it official. It makes all the things that you believe in, that you know that you can do and support people with, it makes it like an official thing. You know, this is official. I can do this and I can help you with this. I mean, my intention of the book was to be able to, you know, enable people to actually take it and maybe even self-coach themselves. So there's that as well. But, you know, it literally does, it opens conversations. You know, it creates, it's a real conversation topic. Lots of people talk to me about, you know, oh, you know, the word love, ooh, not sure about that or whatever. And it's and there's no right or wrong. It's just, you know, it's about engaging with people and helping people to see that, you know, this is real stuff. This is real stuff getting in the way of how we can be at our best as leaders and teams in organizations every day. And I know that these love strategies work. I've got evidence and you know, I'd say try it, you know, and see what happens. And, you know, you've got nothing to lose really and everything to gain. So the book is a way of helping people to go on that journey. And, you know, if I can then, with the work I do, bring that alive more for you, great. That's my purpose.
Wonderful. Oh, Sarah, thank you so much for coming and sharing your purpose with us today.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Lovely. I adore working with you. I love the power of love leadership. I always have done, and I see the work that you do, and I think it's absolutely fabulous. So thank you for being part of the Right Book Company family of wonderful authors. If anyone out there wants to know more about the fabulous Sarah Higgins and her work, her book, of course, is The Power of Love Leadership, which is available to order from therightbookpress.com or Amazon or wherever you like to buy your books. And her audiobook is coming soon. Watch this space. It's fairly recently recorded. Absolutely, Sarah. Fairly recently recorded, so it'll probably be, you know, a little while, but not too much longer to wait. For those of you who've been badgering Sarah to come on and get her audiobook done, it's on its way. And if anybody else out there has been inspired to talk to us about their authorship journey, how they might take what their purpose and their mission in life is and turn that into a fabulous book that helps them deliver on that mission, on that purpose, please do come and join me for a discovery call. You can apply to do one of those on therightbookcompany.com/discovery. I'd be absolutely delighted to see you. And Sarah's website is weloveleadership.com if you want to talk to her more about the wonderful work that she does and how she could bring it in to work with your leadership team. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Right Author Talk. Sarah wants to say something more.
I just want to say thank you to you, Sue, and all your team, and highly recommend you from the bottom of my heart. I think you're all fabulous. So thank you.
You're a star. Thank you. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.